Hello, and welcome to Instant Experts. I am Michael Busch, your host for the evening, and we are Imposters Theater, based here in Cleveland, Ohio. You can visit us at imposterstheater.com or follow us on social media at Imposters Comedy. Welcome, we're excited to have you, and we're excited to have all of our experts this evening. How this show works is each pair of improvisers is given a PowerPoint presentation they have never seen before, and they become instant experts and present us this information in character. So I am very excited to learn all about our various topics this evening. So without further ado, let's bring in our first two experts.
Hello.
Hello, Michael.
Hello, Donna Feingold and Betty Goldfarb. Welcome.
Michael, please don't be so informal. You know us. We're your neighbors when you were a little boy.
Yes, you used to run around my yard with your willy hanging out, darling.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. And Aunt Donna and Aunt Betty. I'm sorry, I'll introduce you.
I know we look a little different. We've been traveling abroad.
We've been in Europe, Michael.
Oh, wow, they let you in Europe. Are you all vaxxed up and ready to go?
Oh yeah,
no.
we were on the first flight out, darling.
Yes, we left before the COVID hit.
Oh.
So we've just been here since.
Ibiza, Spain, Greece, all of it.
Iraq,
Wow.
Egypt.
Oh boy. Okay, you
Love it
really
here. It's
made a
wonderful.
tour. Okay, I don't think some of that's Europe, but okay. Well, Aunt Donna and Aunt Betty, I'm really excited to have you, and we're really excited to learn something from you. So let's jump into your presentation.
Oh, yes,
Okay,
please.
so
First slide.
first slide. Scotland.
This is our favorite place we've been.
Yes.
Oh,
Boy, did we love it. You know, we
Love it.
visited all the golf courses. We ate Scottish food.
haggis.
Haggis. That was delicious.
We saw where they made Braveheart, at least
Oh.
I assumed it's where they made Braveheart.
I bought a kilt.
Those aren't for girls, you know.
No, they're not. Let's go on to the next slide.
Next slide, here we go.
All right. So, oh my goodness, my wine. More than kilts and haggis. See, we've just given you the introduction on it.
So, what else does Scotland have than kilts and haggis? Well, there's golf courses. They have the Scottish sense of humor. Now, if you're not familiar with the Scottish sense of humor, it goes a little something like this. Oi, riding side like, and then you go, oh.
So funny.
I was dating a man for a brief period. It was kind of a love affair. You know, since Roger's dead, I'm free to do whatever I want.
Yes, both of our husbands are recently deceased, and we've taken their life insurance policies and gone on a bit of a vacation. Robert Burns.
That was who she was dating for a little while.
I wish. All right,
Next slide.
All right, Edinburgh. Now, this was an interesting place, wasn't it, darling?
Yes.
So we've got the famous castle there. Do you remember the name?
Holy Rod.
I don't think that's how they pronounce it.
That's how I pronounced it.
Yes.
Holy Rod.
Yes, and it was a very beautiful old castle. I could
Yes.
have think maybe could have used some HGTVing, but
I thought all the towers were very phallic, which is probably why I call it Holy Rod.
yes. And they have the oldest pubs there, which is really our favorite. It was basically a museum for wine and
I
beer.
spent every night in one of the oldest pubs, and I may tell you something, they are wonderful. The pubs stay open all night long as you keep drinking.
No closing time whatsoever. And then we have the Greyfriars Bobby.
Now, the Greyfriars Bobby is a very particular thing. It's
Don't
a man.
do tell it.
It's a man named Robert who lives in Greyfriars, but we call him Greyfriars Bobby.
And he's a policeman, I believe.
Yes, he's got one giant toe.
All right.
Next slide.
Glasgow. This was a fun place.
Yes, I call it Glasgow.
Yes, and she kept getting slapped in the face by all these Scottish men.
But I liked it.
All right, so there we have the Duke of Wellington statue, which I thought was quite fun, didn't you, dear?
Yes, the only thing I didn't like about it was he had too many clothing items on. It's not like when we were in France and we started to see the Michelangelo's David. I like that statue.
Well, remember he had that weird traffic cone on his head, and we kept thinking, is this out of order? What's going on?
I just assumed that he had something naughty in class and it was a dunce cap.
Which could have been true. I don't know. We never got the whole story from our tour guide.
No, he was drunk most of the time.
And then we had the Glasgow Necropolis. How do you say it?
Necropolis. Now, that's what I
I don't
took
have
up.
my glasses on.
Yes.
That was
The Glasgow Necropolis. This is a graveyard. That's where they put the dead people.
which I thought was lots of fun, and I bought a nice fridge magnet there.
I got a t-shirt that said, I went to Glasgow Necropolis, and all I got was this t-shirt, ... of a corpse. I love it. It's a novelty
So
t-shirt.
cute. All right, next slide. House to the Highlands. This was quite a
The
treat.
Highlands!
We saw so many sheep there, didn't we?
Oh,
Just crossing the road, in the
Yes.
hills, at the hotel, at the pub, everywhere. Sheep, sheep, sheep.
there were lots of sheep, and also the train from Harry Potter.
Yes, that was there too.
At least that's what I assumed it was. Locals told me it wasn't that, but I assumed that would go.
But we
That
kept-
train took you to Hogwarts.
Yeah, we kept saying, "Where's Harry?"
Yes.
And then we've got the Harris tweed, which is famous from this area. So I bought a tweed coat. You bought a tweed coat.
I didn't like it though. I returned it because I'm much more of a girl who likes, leopard print, florals.
Yes, exactly. But we got it, and it was a nice thing to wear. So
Next slide.
I think that's it, darling.
There's no one more?
I don't
No,
see
there's
another
not.
one.
Well then, I guess in closing, we should tell you that we love Scotland.
I give it 5 stars out of 5 stars.
And I give it 500 stars out of 100 because I love it more.
Oh, and we're going to start a sheep farm when we get home because we feel like we really know what we're doing now that we've traveled to Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
So, Michael, when you come to visit at Christmas, you'll get to meet all the sheep, darling.
Wow. All right. I can't wait. I can't wait to meet all of your sheep. And that was such great information. It sounds like you had a blast in Scotland there.
Oh, yes, of course. We had a blast everywhere we've gone, but Scotland especially.
Let me tell you this, if you drink enough, anywhere is fun.
There you go. What was your? We have some questions from the audience here.
Oh.
Where in Scotland would you recommend for someone trying to explore new things about themselves?
Ooh.
Ooh, the fjords.
The fjords of Scotland.
Yeah, I would say just go out in a field and just let the wind take you where it must.
Yes, there's lots of rocks, old rocks that they say were put there by the ancient people or aliens. Who knows?
Yes, who knows?
Go sit on one of those rocks and just let it feel your butt. Just let it your butt feel it. And then you'll be inspired. I was.
Yes. That's why you took up painting, isn't it? Because
Mhm.
the rock told you to paint.
Told me I was a painter. And I have painted one painting.
Wow. Well, and Betty, what did you paint?
Michelangelo's David.
It
Wow,
is
that's
quite good.
impressive. Wow. All right. Well, there you go, Sarah. You just go and sit on a rock in Scotland and let it feel your butt. Next question we have: did you meet any intriguing Scottish men that tickled your fancy?
Oh, so many.
They tickled more than my fancy.
In,
I've had too much to drink. I don't know what I'm saying.
in every pub, there was a bachelor who was just willing to play around.
Have you ever seen Hugh Grant, Michael?
I'm familiar with his work. Yes.
So take Hugh Grant's hair, but then Sean Connery's accent, and then Daniel Craig's face.
Oh, a dream.
That's like every
Wow.
man in Scotland.
And they're all hard-working men. None of this, I work in e-commerce. No, it's like, I'm a farmer.
Oh, their hands are so rough. Oh,
Wow. All right. Let's leave it at that. Let's keep it PG, ladies. All
I'm
right.
sorry.
I'm sorry. I want to talk about his penis.
Okay. All right. Let's see. 2 more questions here. What will you name your sheep farm?
Oh,
Do you have a name in mind?
good question. Well, gold farm and fine gold, I guess. Oh, could it be gold fine? Fine gold, I don't know.
Fine farm.
Oh, fine farm.
No, fine
All
farm.
right. Fantastic.
Fine
And
farm.
The fine Bob Bomb.
That's a mouthful. And all right. And our last question for you: personal question? Did you ever get in arguments while traveling together?
Oh, let me tell you the secret to traveling with your best friend. Always have 2 rooms.
That's right. And make sure the doors that are locked in between them lock.
Yes. That's the secret. Because you
So
can.
you had to forcibly keep yourselves apart.
Yes. Exactly.
And for me, my secret is just always drink.
And that's mine too.
I don't, since we've got here, I don't think I've spent a single sober day.
Wow,
that's Europe, darling.
March 10th, 2019 is when we first got here. What is the year now?
2019. Oh no, you've been there a while.
We stayed the COVID out here.
But a year before COVID.
Yes.
Wow, that's impressive. You went there before it was cool. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we have to move on, but thank you so much for joining us. And I can't
Bye,
wait to
Michael. Say
visit
hi to your mother
farm.
for me.
Will do. All right. Thank you.
Bye.
All right, Donna and Betty, everyone. That was very informative. And let's bring out our next pair here. We have Claudia Cloud and Gladys Gladdy. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Thank you for asking, Michael. You did a great job.
Okay, fantastic. Gladys and Claudia, very nice to see you both. And we're very excited to have you here. You are 2 of the foremost experts in your field here, obviously. So I just want to ask, how did you 2 get started in this field?
Well, I'm so grateful, Michael, that you initiated this. As many people know, and it's so good to be above ground again, I have spent the last 14 years in total and absolute silence to better appreciate the sound of a whisper. Not a sound has pursed these lips till today.
I'm surprised you still have any vocal abilities. Wow. That's
terribly.
Oh no.
And that's why I'm here today, to help Gladys fill in the gaps. I've been in communication via pen pal for the past couple of decades. It's amazing to finally get to see your face, Gladys.
Oh wow, that's amazing. This is kind of a reunion as well. Wow. Well, you know what? I can't wait to listen to and see your presentation. So let's get right into it. Claudia and Gladys, thank you.
Thank you. And Claudia, you have been my words. You have been my voice, my key to the outside world beyond my cavernous tombs that I've laid underneath the city. Thank you. Thank you for sharing this stage with me today.
And Gladys, you've really done so much. You've taught me how to live again, how to listen to the deep inner silence that's present in each and every one of us.
And it doesn't go away. No matter how long it lasts and how alone you are, you fill your own incredible silence with your own words until you learn to say, stop, listen, react.
Silence never dies.
It never dies. But people can, so it's very important that you take care of your needs if you indulge in such an experiment of sound versus not sound that I have been living these past 14 years.
And that's why the focus of this presentation today is really going to be on good listening skills, because Gladys is just an absolute master at listening to the silence within all of us. So let's go to the next slide.
Is your heart rate okay, Claudia? I feel like it's escalated. You have a percolating heart rate. I can hear it from here. All right,
how did
relax,
you know?
Claudia. We have nothing to be nervous about.
I feel my heart rate coming down just with those words that you spoke.
Listening. The power.
And I think that goes to our first point, Gladys. Active listening is for friends. You're
right.
One of my best friends.
And you're one of mine. And that's why when you might hear a person, but are you really listening? Can you hear their heartbeat across the room? Do you know how quickly they're chewing on something? Too quickly, not quickly enough? These are skills you gain simply by listening.
I think, Gladys, the biggest thing is you taught me that chew metric. If you can't tell the rate somebody chews through a Krispy Kreme donut, then you're not really listening.
45 chomps per second.
Mm.
That's the perfect amount.
And I think to help, develop some of these skills, we're going to guide you today to how to be an active listener. And that's tip 1. Count how many times somebody chews a donut.
That's a great way to start, because once you know how many times they chew a donut, you can pay attention to other foods and beverages, and you can really, really be cognizant of how your friends are indulging and imbibing. For friends, this is for friends reasons. This is what healthy friendships are made of.
And I got to say, it's fun. There's nothing like going to a post-COVID party and telling people the number of rate they're chewing their carrots at. Man, oh man, it's a big crowd pleaser. I went to this party the other day with my friend Talib, and he was eating this carrot. And I'm like, hey, you chewed that carrot. 10 chew cycles for 5 seconds per carrot minute. That's a real unit. Just look it up.
Oh, you're such a hoot, Claudia. This is why you've been the best pen pal during my time in isolation. So, active listeners are fun, like us. Clearly have a sense of what's whimsical and fun to be around, and it helps people feel understood.
Exactly. And on that, let's go to the next slide.
Next slide. This is important. Don't just wait to talk, right? So when you hear the rats scampering around you in your underground lair that you've created for silence, you don't interrupt their conversations. When you're good and ready, you say what you need to say. But there's plenty of time for that.
I think really one of the best ways, Gladys, and one of the notes you taught me is really when you see an ant crawling out on your driveway looking for a crumb, if you aren't waiting to talk to the ant before he gets and finishes that crumb, like what are you even doing? It's really a good strengthening skill in terms of improving your listening.
Absolutely right. You might miss an important opportunity. Maybe that ant is going to tell you something about the care and health of your lawn. Maybe they know. That's why you wait and you listen.
And Gladys, I want to know, just for an example here, I want to propose. I know you've seen a couple of Marvel movies since you've been above ground, but I want you to tell me about, that time that you really liked that Marvel movie.
The first thing I did when I joined the Above Grounders was I was like, well, what's new in the Marvel and DC universes? That's really what entertained me in my mind was fan fiction about the Marvel universe. So let's say you asked me that, and I responded with some long, oh, really? I liked it too. I liked the big part where the explosion happened. Then the hero had to go and save the townsfolk from getting hurt, and I was sitting on the edge of my seat. How did you feel, Claudia, while I went on that long departure about myself?
My heart rate went up to about 123 beats per minute, but you knew that.
I heard it.
And let's go on to the next slide. We got a couple more tips to get in today for you guys. Ooh. And these just bring back so many memories, Gladys, because you wrote these out to me just one letter at a time in a letter.
That's
and
right.
I had to decrypt them, and that was pretty special.
I like my codes. Yes, that's absolutely right. But one of the first and foremost rules to break into listening into easy steps is like we said with the ant, hear their words. Don't just assume you know what the ant is thinking or what it means to do or what it aims to accomplish with its life. Listen.
And then after that, you got to really make really close mental notes. So I like to use this process where I'm really building like a mental pyramid in my mind. So I'll close my eyes, and the first time somebody says their name, I'll be like, shh. I'm picturing your name at the bottom of the pyramid, and I'm connecting it to a stone that sounds similar. So like Gladys, it'd be like Gladstone, and I'd see it. I'd see that mental note.
Such a beautiful description of how to use the brain pyramid. I think I'm going to have to put that in my next letter to the editor. Yes, for my next book. Absolutely. Beautifully said. Finally, midway through the list, ask yourself, what are they really saying? Sometimes people and insects say one thing, but really mean another. And that's why you have to read between the lines. You have to look through the brain pyramid, through the underground tunnels, through the letters written in encrypted code, and you need to see to the heart of the matter. What is the truth? Excuse me, that was too much. Please help me, Claudia.
You're absolutely right. And after you really get to the point of what are they really saying, you got to ask, what are they feeling? What is the emotion that they're conveying behind that statement? And, Gladys, let's give an example. I'm going to make a statement and you're going to say, what am I really saying? And the emotion behind it. Ready? 1, 2, 3. I think dogs are better than cats.
I think you love dogs and you feel deep, profound love for them. And it has nothing to do with cats. The cats are superfluous and unnecessary. Your heart is with the dogs.
And let's go to the next slide, because on that, my friends, that is a master class in listening right there. You just read my mind. It's like you just saw into my brain and knew what I was thinking, feeling, saying.
Once you listen well enough, it gets there. It gets weird. That's right. Thank you. And thank you for listening to us today.
We promise it'll make you have a whole bunch of new friends, and they won't think you're weird at all. As a matter of fact, they're going to respect you, care for you, and you can build a communal community where you can all just read each other's minds.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Claudia and Gladys. I think that's what everyone wants out of life is just a communal community, right?
That's the best kind.
Yeah, exactly. Now we have a lot of questions from our audience here, so let's jump right into it. This person wants to know, do you think I can still learn to be a good listener without being mute for years like Gladys?
Frankly, no.
Fair enough. All right. Let's move on to our next question. Do you have any tips for listening to people you don't like and can't stand?
Ooh, I got a couple. I like to close my eyes and I then like to ask the other person to turn their back to me. So then I'm just like, it's so much easier to forget you don't like them if you don't have that visual cue, and they have to turn their back to you, because once you get good at listening, you can just sense their presence, and that really increases a much higher barrier to make it tolerable to listen to someone's opinion, despite how wrong that opinion may be.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. So it's all about the positioning of the other person, pretty much.
Exactly.
The old switcheroo.
All right, fantastic. Let's see. Do you ever get overwhelmed by sounds with your superior sense of hearing? And how do you cope with that? Do you use earplugs or what?
Yes. Can I tell you, the other day, I was awakened in the middle of the night in such a terror, such a fright at the sound of my own toot escaping, because I hadn't heard the sound in so long. I screamed. It was my own body working. So yes, I frequently experience terrors, but with time and with listening, I understand where they're coming from, and I'm less frightened.
Wow. Okay. So during that whole time, how did you keep yourself from hearing your own toot, if you will?
They were quieter during that time. My whole body was engaged in silence.
Oh, wow. Okay. Very cool. All right. Here's a science question. What is the loudest food when eaten?
That's a tough one. That's a tough one, because I haven't eaten every food that's existed in the history of time, but I have to say nacho cheese Doritos are particularly loud, because the way that the cheese, the cheese powder goes on that corn tortilla and makes a nice, and it's quite loud. It can be quite grating. So I try and limit the amount of Doritos that are in my house. And
specifically the nacho cheese variety.
Yes, it's the yellow. It's the orange. It's the orange. It's kind of weird, but sometimes color can make noises.
The color crunches. Interesting. Okay.
Exactly.
Had good success with Cool Ranch. No trouble at all. So it's definitely
Yeah.
but nacho cheese.
Cheetos are
Good
up
to
there
know.
too. Yeah.
All right. Next question. Is it nicer to listen to a pen pal letter written in cursive or a letter written in script?
You know, Gladys and I often do really detailed codes.
Yeah.
We alternate between dot and dashes of the Morse code or codes that we create on our own. So I say if you have a choice, none of the above. Codes, make it complicated, make it
So you
unique.
just kind of have your own language going on here.
We've created 3.
A language
Wow.
that extends beyond sound.
Could you demonstrate? Is there a spoken version of this language you created?
No.
Wow.
But there is one of short, soft sounds.
Oh,
You're
that's
so funny.
fantastic. All right. Let's
Very
see.
good.
Let's see. Can you ever listen and wait too long to talk?
This is me showing that yes, it is possible.
Okay,
If
that
you
was
wait-
too long. Okay, so
Yeah,
we're saying that
was
was
a good
too long.
example,
Okay.
just a beat too long. You still
Thank
wanted to show the other person you're engaged, but I wanted to demonstrate it for you. So
No,
you
I
can feel
appreciate
it.
that demonstration. Yeah, I felt that. I felt that. Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Great. And let's see. What do you hear when you hold a shell to your ear?
I really like, with these shells, a lot of people like to say you can hear the ocean, but really what it's more similar to is a babbling stream. And in that stream, if you listen hard enough, you can actually hear a koi fish, which not many people pick up. But if you practice, you're going to hear that grr, 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 grr. That's the fish.
Okay. And one final question. This person says, okay, but what if I am the most interesting person ever and the best storyteller, and I really think it's in the best interest of other people that I dominate all conversations?
Have you tried living under the city for 14 years in a dense series of tunnels and canals of your own building? And you can find out that you actually can exhaust yourself with your own interestingness. And I don't think you really know until you've done it. And if you're ever interested, reach out to me via an elaborately written coded message. Send it to Claudia. She only knows how to reach me. And then I will invite you to my lair of silence. Just
Wow, that's amazing, Gladys. So you're in fact on our live stream here offering to lock strangers into the tunnels under your building for years.
That's right.
Wow,
Definitely word it like that.
Wow.
You do need your COVID vaccine before you enter the tunnel.
That's right.
Fair.
But that's
Okay.
really it.
All right. Well, fantastic. Thank you so much to both of you. This has been very informative, and I will put these practices into practice with my conversations.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks.
Fantastic. Let's bring out our next pair of experts. And if you want to follow us, we are at Imposters Comedy on social media and YouTube. All right. Hello, Leonardo Leroy and Becca von Sternumhor. Thank you so much for coming. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
It's Bareka. Oh, actually, it's Bareka.
Bareka. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Bareka von Sternumhor.
Yes, that's correct.
I apologize. Okay. Bareka and
Hello.
Leonardo. Hello. Welcome. It's so great to have you both here.
Oh, thanks, love. It's so good to be here. You know, I just had a opening of my new exhibit at the museum, and I'm just absolutely chuffed, absolutely buzzing. So it's so good to be here.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. What museum was it?
Actually, it was a Brooklyn Museum of Art. They have a pretty cool exhibit, and yeah, things are going real well.
Wow. Brooklyn's a pretty cool place.
yeah, yeah.
All right. And Leonardo, what do you have going on?
Well, I am currently in Zurich, Switzerland. I feel very good. I have been drinking a lot of coffee and getting in a lot of research and, working with my colleague on the interdisciplinary nature of our design work.
Well,
Yeah.
fantastic. And without further ado, let's just get right into your presentation here. Thank you for joining us.
Amazing. Right. Leo, do you want to take it or do you want me to, love?
Oh, thank you for that. I just want to say I can start it off by saying that our presentation today is on our research when it comes to vampire bats.
Yeah.
And why they sook. You see, they are misunderstood, but beautiful creatures, dazzling, captivating. And I do want to acknowledge my colleague who uh, made this presentation with such dark energy in her artistic inspiration to create a wonderful aesthetic for us today.
Cheers. Thanks. That is so good to hear. I do want to just press on that. I think that you'll see that the findings of this particular study on vampire bats, really the outcome is they suck, but they're so beautiful. And it's really a really fine line that we're going to tread. And I think through my artistic expression, you'll really see a need for deep feminism and allowing ourselves to look at ourselves in a way we haven't before. So that's the premise. That's where we're starting from. Next slide. Let's get into it. Bosch, get it done. Righto. Super excited.
Very well, very well. And when it comes to the light and the dark, what we see and what we don't see, it is sometimes what vampire bats are not.
Yeah.
Which makes them most who they are.
Yeah, exactly. I think, what are vampire bats? They're not birds, they're not ducks, they're not humans, they're not sheep, they're not a aardvark, they're not, I could go alphabetically, I could go thematically, I could go religiously, ecumenically, whatever you want me to do. That we can categorize things so easily, but why don't we take a step back and see the larger picture here?
And the beautiful thing is they should have the right, the liberté, to choose what they want to do, what they want to be, who they want to become, whether they want to suck or whether they not want to suck. That is their choice as creatures on this earth.
Yeah, and I just want, again, these images are so dark and so upsetting. You look at it and you're just like, oh my God, get that man's face off my screen. I cannot look at him anymore. He's just giving me the creeps. I hate him so much with a passion. And yet I'm kind of excited and enjoy the thrill of it, So you'll find how difficult it is to really push for, feminism and women's equality, but also to be why am I sort of attracted to this man with red eyes? I don't know. And I'm going to work my hardest for the rest of my life to figure that out. So that's something that's embedded within the vampire bat. I just wanted to put that out there. Let's move on. Next slide. Let's go. Bosch.
We can use that energy for the next slide. That energy for the next slide.
Let's bring it. Why drink blood? That's a good question. And actually, in the comment section, I want to hear why you would drink blood. Because I have my opinion. Leo has his opinion, yes. And we're experts, so we'll tell you what the right answer is. But I think it's really personal, and I think everybody has their own idea of it. Yeah, Leo, would you say?
The beautiful thing about existence in this world, wherever we are, whether it's Switzerland, whether it's Brooklyn, whether it's Louisiana, what is important to us is that we serve our own purpose and our own direction, and the beauty of life that sets us apart and brings us together.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wherever we may be, which brings us to our next slide. Where in the world these vampire bats are most populated?
Yeah. And we're talking physically, because obviously mentally we could be somewhere, emotionally we could be somewhere. Emotionally I'm torn between really wanting to submit to the men in my life, but emotionally and mentally knowing that I'm much stronger than that and don't want that at all. So that's where I'm emotionally, mentally. Physically, I'm sitting on a chair, where South America really is what we're talking about. South America is a place to be if you want to physically be in the realm of a bat, but not maybe mentally or emotionally or spiritually. And I think Leah's got some really interesting things to add to that.
Oh, especially in this day and age, vampire bats do not necessarily use Wi-Fi or the internet, but there is a certain uh, telepathic connection that they have with the world that transcends distance. So even though I'm here, in the Alps and researching, different types of insects out here, which could serve as a delicacy, uh, there is a certain connection I have with them from afar. So even though I'm here in over here, they're over there, and we are still together. And I think that is beautiful and dazzling and heart wrenching.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, we need to take a look at ourselves through the lens of a vampire bat. We can learn so much through echolocation. So many studies have been done with it physically, but I think that if we really use that as like emotional echolocation, putting your emotions and your feelings out to everyone else, seeing what gets bounced back, how does that make you feel? How can you learn that and like create with that? So like that's my next, one of my next exhibits I'm planning in my head right now is like using some of this that we've collected and created and curated, I think. But anyway, I could go on for hours about that. I'm not going to do that now. Let's move on. Next slide, Busch. This slide's a bit of a downer, not going to lie.
Dark energy.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I always love having Leo around because he always brings me back up when I get bogged down, he's the one that really brings me back up. So thanks, Leo.
We complete each other. We
do, yeah.
Yes. Just like the bite of a bat can sometimes lead to rabies. That's sometimes the physical connection that is made. But you recognize that is of similar rates, or whether they're in the forest or they're on the Norwegian cruise line. Right. Which allows me to understand that it's the environment they put you in rather than the space you're in. And that is the emotional content that forces the bats to take bites. But that's just why they suck, because of an emotional dark energy, not because of malice or hate.
Right. And I probably should, give this background to you. Leah and I actually met on a Norwegian cruise where we both got bitten by bats and had to deal with the scare of, do I have rabies, do I not? That's really what brought us together and made us think, I see the light in your eyes, I see the intelligence that you can bring to me, and vice versa. We like to really connect that way. So yeah, it was a Norwegian cruise line. We were both on the observation deck. They have some really nice chairs, some really nice canapes, and then bat infestation was next. But it brought us together. So light amongst the dark. What can you say?
And if we move forward to our next slide,
Busch.
Cheers. I think that really speaks to how we came together as work partners to use our energy to defend our mental home against future bad bites. That was something that we discovered about the power of friendship, the power of beauty, and the power of connection to ward off bats for their own reasons.
Yeah, I think the best defense is to accept them in completely, and then they can't hurt you. If you're open, and it's like, bat, come on in, you can't hurt me, you can't beat me, then you're going to win every time. And so I think that we're going to leave you on this note that, a good offense is a good defense, a good defense is a good offense, and opening up your fence to your neighbor, allow them into your yard, is really the best fence of all. So that's what I would recommend to all the listeners up there.
Fantastic. Those are wonderful words of wisdom, Baraka. Thank you to you and Leonardo. That was a wonderful presentation.
So
We have quite a few
welcome.
questions here from our audience, so let's jump right into it. What are vampire bats not religiously?
Oh, that's a good question. Not religiously, they're more like the domesticated household cat. Once you add the religious element to it, that's when they really become monsters. But other than that, they're actually quite docile.
You know,
Fantastic.
religion is a system of indoctrination that leads us away from the spiritual core to any connection we have to a higher being. So I allow vampire bats to choose what they want to choose in terms of how they want to believe and how they want to be spiritually.
Right.
It's very
Okay.
open of you. Fantastic. All right. Now, please give this person wants guidance on how to manage the vampire bat infestation in their apartment. They're hiding under their bed and they're afraid they will find me soon.
That's a tough
Oh,
one.
oh, but I think the first step is to lose fear. The
Yeah.
fear you have in your heart is what they would be attracted to.
They're kind of
So
sensing that fear, is what you're
Yeah.
saying.
yes, yes, you want them to feel the love, and by feeling the love, they feel free to let go and pursue their own dream. And so I would approach them with love, come under the bed and whip out and move the sheets and show love, show beauty, show embrace.
And just practically, I think if you look around the bats, find the one that looks the most friendly, the one that kind of seems to have a smile on its face. That work your way in with the nicer bats, and then they'll be on your side and get you on with the meaner ones. So like, the popular one, no, but like the lower ones that are like nice and desperate, that's the ones that you want to like connect with, and you'll be all right.
Fantastic. That's great advice. All right. So, best of luck to you under the bed.
Yeah.
Next question. Do you think there is room for ticks and leeches in feminist representation as well?
Obviously, that gets a little tricky with burrowing and tight, damp spaces. You really, that's where it gets a little mucky and messy. So what you really want is to make sure that you're in an open space if you're going to be working with ticks or other bugs like that. But I think there's a space for everybody, and it can only help.
All right. Fantastic. And Leonardo, next question for you. How does the Batman fit into the vampire bat world? Does he even fit?
Well, the Batman is a construction of his environment and his circumstance. He utilizes a similar form of the dark energy that is from our artistic rendition and consideration of the design of the vampire bat. I would consider him a huge fanatic rather than a mascot or a standard bear. I think Baraka would agree that he tries, but he has much to learn.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right.
Yeah.
And let's a couple more questions here. Baraka, is "you suck" a compliment in your academic opinion? Does this statement begin to dismantle the patriarchy here?
Oh, that is a great question. And obviously, a person of my own art, I think that, you suck is all in the delivery. Whether it's a firm suck, a soft, gentle suck, there's so many emotions can be conveyed to the other party in how you suck, and whether it's messy, wet, or if it's like something that is more, get to the end point, bosh, there you go, in the hole, got it, hole in one.
So it's not necessarily the words,
Yeah.
but what the intonation of the words.
Yes, exactly. I think that, anything can be turned into, feminist art. So defo.
Fantastic. All right. If vampire bats could use the internet and Wi-Fi, what would they do, Leonardo?
They from our experience with the research on vampire bats, to be honest. I think they would create a lot of art. They would they were really disappointed at the breakdown of Tumblr. They had their own what is that bat Tumblr, where they would make bats and make cosplay and fan fiction and discuss politique. They had their own corner. They would have their own corner of the world where no one would bother them and people don't bother us, but they show their love and they bring it out there and it would be a good idea, and we can, pilot a program to offer Ethernet connections to the caves.
Wait, so are you saying they did have their own bat internet, or you want to develop it for them?
Oh, that's a secret government research project. We're not fully there yet to report.
Although I
Fair
will
enough.
say this, in the alleged bat internet, they still do have Vine, but they call it Branch because that's what they hang on. But they're living it up, gotta say.
Fantastic. All right. Well, let's end it there. Thank you so much to both of you. I feel so much more enlightened, and I'm ready to welcome them into my life with love. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Pleasure, absolute pleasure to be here, Busch.
Beautiful, gorgeous, as well as you, Michael Busch, gorgeous.
All right, and we have one more pair of performers, presenters here for you. Follow us on social media at Imposters Comedy. Check out our website, imposterstheater.com. And let's bring out our last pair of experts. Hello, welcome. We have Maisie McDowell and Dakota Sun. It's so great to have you both here.
Thank you so much. Just so pleased to be here.
So great to be here.
Wow, I'm glad that you're glad. It's a glad fest in here. All right, and you two are two of the foremost in your field, correct?
That's right. We are sisters in research and in knowledge. Not in biology, but in research and knowledge.
But you couldn't get much closer, even if we were related.
I know.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I'm very excited to see and hear your presentation. So without further ado, take it away, scientific sisters.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Maybe it's like he saw the t-shirts that we have in our pajama drawers or something.
Sisters in research. She got that for me for my birthday last year. It was very sweet. We don't take a lot of time off.
You haven't shown me a photo of you in it yet, though. So I'm.
Oh no, I'm just so busy at the lab and in my research. I just, don't have a lot of time.
Yeah, do you still sleep in those research clothes? Because I know you work so hard.
Well, if you're sleeping in the lab or you're sleeping in your office, it just kind of makes sense to stay in your clothes until they smell bad.
And I mean, that's kind of why I came all the way up here, just to get out of the lab and really just experience the work out in the open. I was just living in my lab coat and I couldn't do it anymore.
You're really doing such a much better job with self-care than I am. That's a work in progress.
Oh, it's not self-care, it's self-defense. I mean, I have bare scratches down my arm, and I did not know that pine needles would be so edible when you really, really need food. So, we're both surviving.
We are,
sister.
Yeah, we are. Well, let's get into it. So our expertise, as you may be wondering, is in how coffee works.
And the part that I get to play here is just by saying, if you try to stay awake as long as possible, does coffee work on your body differently at different times of day and at different temperatures? And so I've kind of been like a human subject here for our research.
And Dakota has been incredible. She actually has a very unique constitution in that we are able to test things in a way that normally we would need lots of people for. But with her, we can just see exactly what coffee does to her body when she ingests it.
And that first slide you can see is kind of a true illustration of how I felt. I was describing the lightning bolts that were coming out of my fingers when I had been awake for 3 days and had been ingesting the coffee as my only sustenance.
And it was incredible to see you 3 days no sleep, coffee only. I mean, you were able to do work. You were able to sit down and write. Amazing, an amazing mind. Let's do the next slide.
Yes.
So, as you may know, there's many different ways to ingest coffee. So you have the Americanos. So that takes 1 shot of espresso, 3 ounces of hot water. This is a simple version. So this is for the person on the go, the researcher, if you will. It started in World War II to extend the coffee ration. So we just wanted coffee to go a little bit further. It's pretty caffeinated.
And this has actually become my nickname up here. They call me the Americano. And a deal Macy and I made was if anybody calls me Americano, I have to stop right then and there and just down one. So I kind of dread being called my nickname because then I just have to pound one right then and there. So my nickname is a bit of a punishment.
Yeah, we try to avoid it when it looks like she's about to go over the edge and have a seizure or something, because we don't want that.
High level of caffeine.
You want to go into the cafe au lait?
Yes, that is like just having someone whisper a sweet nothing into my ear. I mean, once you add that milk to cut through that black devil of liquid, it's sweet relief. It's like liquid heaven.
The scalded milk really cuts it into this way that it becomes smooth and a little bit like learning something, I think. That's how I would describe the cafe au lait.
And scalded is a technical term. I do want to make sure anybody who's a part of our presentation today does not leave without understanding. Scalded is not boiling. Scalded is not hot. Scalded is scalded, people. And let's just clarify that.
Yeah. You don't have a cafe au lait if you don't understand the scald.
And you really don't know if you have it scalded unless you can smell it. The scalded smell.
A little bit of I would call it acrid.
Yes.
Yes. And there's just a little something that's hard to explain that really makes it the cafe au lait.
If you've ever smelled a spit up cloth, I'd call that scalded.
Yes. This is why we work together.
Yes. Next slide. The flat white.
Yeah. This one is it is what I'm always attempting to achieve. So it might seem simple. 1 shot espresso, 4 ounces steamed milk. It is not as simple as it seems because steamed milk requires just such a delicate touch. You want the bubbles coming up, but you don't want it scalded. That's a cafe au lait. The flat white it's kind of my white whale, my flat white whale that I can never quite seem to master.
And I had to ingest this one on day 8 of being awake. So to Maisie, it's her white whale, and to me, it's my great white. It was hard to take on that day 8. Well, we should probably talk about the cappuccino next.
Yes, I know it's hard for you when we talk about it.
Yeah, thank you. I've come a long way. I used to just call it the flat whoa. So now I can't say it.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. You stayed in the moment. You really held on to that anxiety. I'm impressed. Without the sisterhood, I would not be putting myself through this. And
I scoffed at the idea of a cappuccino. I said, that's not really a coffee drink. That's just a lot of cinnamon scrapings and a fancy spoon. But I'm coming around. I had to take that one in through the ear because I just couldn't make myself drink any more caffeine at that point. So usually whenever I have a cappuccino by choice, I have it but through the ear.
Yes, yeah. That is another way to ingest. So we talked about the oral way, which is the way most people ingest. And then there's also through the ear.
The oral way.
I love your puns so much. Your mind, it's incredible. What caffeine has done to your mind is beautiful.
And there's no way I can ever go back.
No, it's not undoable.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so a lot of ingredients in a cappuccino. 1 to 2 shots espresso. Really 2. Who are we kidding? 2. We need 2 shots.
I've got 2 ears, 2 shots.
Steamed milk, which again, a delicate balance. Foamed milk, and a little bit of chocolate powder or some cinnamon. I will say this to me, this is like kind of a nighttime caffeine, you know, like when you want to be able to fall asleep, some nice gentle rest, nothing too strong, a cappuccino is good for you.
And hearing you talk like that, Maisie, is like you whispering sweet nothings. I mean, none of these are sleepy nighttime drinks because I have no concept of night anymore, but I trust you.
Mhm.
You describe night so beautifully. I'll find it one day.
My body does retain the ability to sleep approximately 1 day in 5. So
Next slide. The Breve. I've had that one mostly when I'm running from bears, wolves. You know, it's a brief drink, so have it fast on the run.
Dakota, as I said, is incredible, and she's done a handful of marathons, and I will always have a Breve ready for her at certain mile marks. Because I'm, you know, if you try to do a marathon for too long without having some caffeine, I'm a little worried you might just collapse in on yourself.
And I have been known to just dump them over me and let it just soak my skin and absorb it that way as well.
Another way of intake, yeah. So that's another one I think is less commonly known. It's just sort of the skin absorption route.
It is highly effective.
Absolutely. And the cortado, a backbone of any cafe, any coffee shop. 1 shot espresso, an ounce of warm milk, and a centimeter of foam.
Do not go 1.5 centimeters.
No,
quarter. Don't mess with that centimeter. It's got to be just right.
Yeah, and the cortado to me really says like fun, going out on the town.
I would not drink a cortado without a fistful of beans on the side. I mean, you see in the picture, that is just grab a fistful, chomp it, shoot it. You are ready to party.
Yeah, absolutely. You're ready for the sisterhood. Not the biological sisterhood. I disowned those.
None of mine talk to me. It's all scientific sisters now.
That's right. All right, let's do our final slide.
Maisie and I will never come to an understanding on this last slide. I'm sorry to say. Iced coffee. I'm sorry, Maisie. I'm going to say it. It's not coffee, people.
It is coffee, but it is cold.
We're not going to do this circular argument as part of our presentation. I'm not doing this with you again, Maisie.
Or is it tautologically correct? Coffee is coffee, it's just cold.
This is where I start to feel tired. Okay.
All right, say your piece.
All right, so it says hot brewed coffee and ice cubes becomes diluted. How could you do that to coffee?
In a cafe Americano, you add water. How is adding water from ice cubes different? You dilute coffee either way.
Water and ice are completely different.
They're made out of the same stuff.
So Maisie, perhaps you and I should finally just talk our piece about decaf now. Get it out there.
Yeah.
It's garbage.
It is. Yeah.
It's total garbage.
And that's when we fight about iced coffee, we like to add like a little like dash decaf because we want to reconnect.
Yes.
We
cross.
I don't know, but yeah, my heart rate is pounding. I feel like I could throw a punch. So I need a little bit of moment to decompress and think about how much we together hate decaf.
Yeah. I would drink decaf if I wanted to meditate, if I would drink decaf if I'm about to do child's pose. That's the place for decaf.
I mean, I might drink decaf if I were an infant.
Right.
But I feel like I grew out of it for the most part.
Sure.
And finally, the unifier. When you split over iced coffee, you can come back over cold brew. It's never been heated. It's super concentrated, no dilution. You steep and you enjoy.
I feel like we just found our reconciliation through that recipe right there, Maisie.
No, we'd never truly turn away from each other. We have so much more in common than we would ever have to fight over.
And if I slept, I'm sure I'd dream about you two and our great, great friendship.
1 out of every 5 nights I do dream about you.
Oh, that's so sweet and such a great presentation. Thank you, Maisie and Dakota. That was very informative. We have some questions for you from our audience. Can we get into those?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start with this one. Dakota, are you okay?
I don't know. I have lost all sense of okay, not okay, good, bad, day, night. Everything is just one existence. So I am is my answer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I'm just curious, are people sending these bears after you as part of the experiment, or are the bears just a happenstance of your circumstances?
Oh, as far as I know, the bears just live here. But when I start to key into my paranoia, which happens with so much caffeine, I do start to think that they are robot bears or trained bears or bears who have been released to enhance the experimentation.
Full disclosure, we did try robot bears once, but we decided that it was too unethical because Dakota really had a hard time with the robot bears.
Okay, so robot bears were tried, but
mm-hmm.
ultimately decided on real bears.
Yeah, that was a rough 72 hours because Dakota was on a lot of caffeine, and I don't want to get too far into
I ripped off a limb and I got electrocuted. It wasn't fair to me.
Yeah. All right. Fantastic. Let's see. How important is the method of bean harvesting to the coffee?
It really depends. There's a lot of regions and a lot of growers that are very intense about the method of bean harvesting. We tend to subscribe to the idea that it's really more about the preparation of the bean than the harvesting of the bean.
And how you take the liquid into your body through which
mm-hmm.
orifice. That's
Mm-hmm.
where our research primarily lies.
Now, Dakota, when you eat the beans whole, do you prefer a certain region of bean?
I like to mix them together. It's kind of like jelly beans. You want a whole bunch of different flavors. So you
That's
get
fair.
a little like Costa Rica and Sumatra and just, it's a fusion.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. All right. And Maisie, let me ask you, this person says, my Mr. Coffee machine has died. Oh, should I get a Keurig, a French press, or another Mr. Coffee machine?
Okay, so first off, a Keurig is like the McDonald's of coffee.
Here she goes.
Yeah, it's look, I want to encourage anyone that wants to have coffee unless they want to have it from a Keurig. So I would go with a French press.
Okay, French press, but anything but a Keurig is what you're saying.
Yeah, really, yeah, just those little pods, the single use, like it's not designed for quality, it is designed for convenience. And I just have to say, like, if that's what you put in your body, then do you care?
Fair
about
enough.
yourself?
All right. Next question. Did you experiment with a coffee depository? Any interesting results? I don't know if they meant
Suppository.
deposit. I think it might have been suppository.
Sure, sure. Well, I do consider my body kind of like a bank, you know, and when I put something in, I'm making a deposit. There was one day when I didn't have a cup around and I was really struggling with finding a way to get enough coffee in my body at once. So I did saturate some leaves and mud with some coffee, and I stuck those up my nostrils and I let that sit there while I was trekking through the wilderness. And so that's the closest I've gotten to kind of a suppository experience.
And were there bears following you at this time?
There are always bears following me.
Fair enough. All right. Let's see. Okay, this person says, tell me about the first time you ever had coffee.
I was 4, and my parents said, wow, you will not focus on vacuuming the house, so we better give you something that'll help you focus. And they gave me a tall triple shot espresso, and I never looked back.
Wow, you were a little clean machine then, huh?
Yeah, I cleaned the whole house, and then I washed all the bathrooms.
Wow, what a heartwarming story. All right, and let's see. One final question here. This person says, seriously, how many sugars? How much cream? I can't get my coffee just right. Help!
That seems to me at this point kind of an existential question. I mean, would Thoreau say you need just so many creams and so many sugars? No. Thoreau would say, look at the sky and sip it in.
Yeah. I thought the same thing. That's really more of a personal journey. I'm not a spiritual guide so much as I tell you to follow your own path.
So it's kind of an experimentation, find who you are through the coffee and the sugar and the cream.
Only when you love yourself can you love the amount of sugar and cream you put in your coffee.
Fantastic. I think those are great words to end on. Thank you, Maisie and Dakota. This was wonderful. We really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
So much.
All right. Thank you all for watching. That's the end of our Instant Experts show this evening. Thanks to all our performers. Thank you to everyone who put together slideshows for us. Thank you to our technical director, Rachel Javorsky. She's done a great job with us. And Rissa Joyce for creating the show. Again, imposterstheater.com. Follow us on social media at Imposters Comedy. And goodbye.